I make medieval and early period functional armor for heavy combat. I've been doing medieval combat for 21 years. What really got me was when I realized that it wasn't choreographed, there was no predetermined winner. They were actually hitting each other full force and with a fair amount of skill. And then at that point I realized it was a full-fledged martial arts, and I was hooked. It's very unnerving to stand in front of an opponent who is armored and skilled, but the real rush comes when we do larger battles. When you're standing with that many people, with just as many across from you, and the battle begins and you feel the rumbling of the feet, it's like nothing else in the world. We study manuals, some of the very old manuals, to try to get an idea of how people trained, but you just don't really know until you put it on. And it's the same way with the armoring. You look at a picture and you see something and it makes complete sense. But then when you make it, you realize that there was a lot more detail to it than you originally thought, and that carries both into the armoring and into the combat. This body armor is 18 pounds. A little heavier than I normally like, but you know, I need all the protection I can get. This came off of a pattern that was Italian from about 1490 called a Corzina, and it has to be very, very custom fit, which it provides obviously significant protection, but it still has a good bit of mobility, and you can still get all the rotation that you need. That has about 40 hours worth of work in it, more than I thought it was going to have. I've been building armor for about 15 years, but I haven't really focused in on it until the last 2 or 3 years. I use a lot of modern tools to help me with some of my cutting, but the techniques that we use are very much the same as what we're used in. And so we've realized that even though there are ways we can do it modern, often the old way is still the only way. There's a lot of technique to actually swing in the hammer. It's not as much of a straight down motion as it is more of a drive, which allows you to use the muscles from your shoulders, and therefore you don't wear your arms out. It's hard to get an angle sometimes. You have to have 3 points of contact on it, otherwise it'll bounce. Even the tools you have to either find or make. The armor gets ugly before it gets pretty. When you heat it up, it brings a lot of the carbon to the surface, which is where these dark areas off. All of this flakes off when you sand it down or grind it down, and it has a really nice silvery finish to it. You can see, even though it's got a lot more smoothing work to be done, that layer just comes right off. It's a very, very pretty color to it. I love the color of that. To me, making it is just as important as wearing it. And the idea that I can take a set of armor, make it, put it on, wear it in combat is pretty exciting. When I decided I was going to go to Poland, I didn't have one piece of equipment that was met the standards. And so I realized that it was going to take a significant amount of work for me to be able to do it. But that's part of my personal journey on this. The idea that you can take your sport and be able to also do something for your country at the same time. Normally only the Olympians get to have that privilege, and so we are very honored, and we are very overly aware of our responsibility to our friends, family, and our country. There's something really good about knowing that you were on the very first team to ever do this.